Hi guys, I'm back again. And today I'm going to be talking about my book club online called Read So Lit. And I'm going to talk about all of the great books that we have been reading this year of 2022. We've had an excellent year of 2022. We only took breaks as usual in April, in August, and in December. So let's get started with these goodies. So this book club was started so that I could spotlight books that are from the diaspora, and particularly books that are maybe not as well known, if possible, backlisted books, that kind of thing. So let's get started with the first book, and that is this one, which I think some people must know this one, which is called Heads of the Colored People. And this is by, I think it's Nafisa Thompson Spears. And this is a short story collection that literally blew our minds. It is such an original piece of writing. Nafisa Thompson Spears has a very creative way of talking about what it is to be Black. And she does it in, I would say, always Black, in the sense that it's not just one stereotypical type of Black person. We get a variety of different Black people and Black experiences. And I highly recommend this for people who are looking for a short story collection that is going to make you laugh, make you shake your head. Yeah, I know this. And is going to keep you thinking even after it's over. Because, I mean, I know short story collections are really difficult to get into sometimes, mostly because we can get into it and then when it ends, it feels like it falls flat, like there's something missing. And with this collection, I didn't have that feeling at all. I thoroughly enjoyed every single one of these stories. Very memorable collection, and I highly recommend it. And the book club, we loved it. I think we all, like, the average for this rating in our book club was 4 stars. Okay, the next book on our list was this one, which is called Grant Park by Leonard Pitts Jr. Now, Leonard Pitts Jr. is one of my favorite authors. He is what I would call for myself a must-buy kind of author, because he is a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist, but who also writes fiction. The first book I read by him was called The Last Thing You Surrender, which I'll put it right here so you can see it. This book just blew my freaking mind. So from there, the book club we read last year in 2021, we read Freeman by Leonard Pitts Jr., which I'll put here. And so this year we decide to read this one, which is Grant Park. Now, the thing about this book club, which was really nice, was we actually had Leonard Pitts Jr. come to the book club and talk to us about his writing and about this book, Grant Park. And Grant Park has this way of just capturing us through humor, but at the same time, the seriousness of the topic of racism, and it almost kind of meets up with what we're seeing today in the US in 2022. I highly recommend this book, Freeman, and The Last Thing You Surrender, because these are all books that you're just going to love. You're just going to start reading and you're going to get completely engrossed and you're not going to want to stop. He is really a brilliant writer. He's someone who has a lot to say in his writing, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So just to get an idea what this one is about, it says, the novel ricochets between two eras, 2008, when a senator from Illinois stands on the verge of history, and 1968, when Martin Luther King confronts his troubled last campaign in Memphis. Disillusioned, weary, and outraged by yet another report of an unarmed Black man gunned down by police, Malcolm Toussaint writes a column so incendiary that his editor, Bob Carson, rejects it. But Toussaint uses Carson's password to hack into the newspaper's computer system and publish it anyway. Then he mysteriously disappears, and Carson, left to take the fall, is fired. Okay, so I'm not going to read the rest of it because you don't need to be spoiled. That gives you an idea of what this book is about. I highly recommend it. It's a hoot. It got a lot of serious things in it, but it's also a hoot at the same time. He's very brilliant with writing a story and getting to the crux of what he wants to tell you. He does that very, very well. 4 stars, this one. Okay, so this is the next book we read, and this was the month of March. We read Black Mamba Boy by Nadifa Muhammad. Now, this book, okay, Nadifa Muhammad had been on my list for some time, and so I was quite happy to propose this book to the book club. So because each month the club votes on what they want to read, so I proposed 2 books, and then that allows the book club members to choose to vote on what they want to read, and they voted for this one, and I'm so happy they voted for this one, although I didn't make it easy for them because there was another book against this one, which is from Al-Jazarak, and they picked this one, and I'm not mad at it because, like I said, Nadifa Muhammad has been on my to-be-read list for a long time, but what I enjoyed, this is Black Mamba Boy, so this is a book that is fiction, but lightly based on Nadifa Muhammad's father's life. So we have this young boy whose father winds up leaving him when he's fairly young, leaving him and his mother when he's young. And we see the journey that this boy takes crossing Eritrea to find his father. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because let me tell you, this book right here, I learned some things that I did not know, which was talking about the colonization of Eritrea by the Italians. And I mean, I knew that they had, but I didn't really know any details or anything about it. This book goes into detail about a little bit of that, and it goes into detail about how people were living in that country. It's such a good book. It's powerful. It's a book that you will not, quickly forget because the main character is so touching, which is supposed to be a representation of her father. But let me tell you, this book had me on edge. I mean, look at all of the little Post-its. We loved it. We had an excellent conversation about this book. I highly recommend Black Mamba Boy. I think this was her first book, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, this one, you got to get it. Okay, so the next book that we read was A Woman of Endurance, and that was by Dalma Llanos Figueroa. And here is Dalma right here. Okay, so Dalma wrote another book, which was before this one, which was called Daughters of the Stone, which I'm going to put a picture here. Okay, so this is the first book in this short series. And then this book came out, and so we read it as well. So we had Dalma come to the book club in 2021 to talk about Daughters of the Stone, but also to come this year to talk to us about A Woman of Endurance. And this book is also another one. It's very poignant. It's a very poignant, emotional book. And when you're reading it, it's gonna take you, you got to get your mind right. That's all I'm gonna say. Like, if y'all haven't been watching me before this and you don't know what you got to get your mind right, that means this could be slightly, traumatizing in the sense where it's emotional and, yeah, it hits you there. You got to get your mind right for this one. So this is what it says. A Woman of Endurance is a novel about the journey of Pola, an enslaved African woman on a sugarcane plantation in 19th century Puerto Rico. After an attempted escape from a world of slave breeding and a brutal beating, Pola awakens in a new plantation, Hacienda Las Mercedes. Here, the reader follows her into the nuanced, complex, and supportive world of a community in which she learns to recognize and embrace the many faces of love: a mother's love, a daughter's love, a sister's love, a love of community, and finally, the self-love that she must experience before she can offer herself to another. And I tell you, that right there is exactly what it's about. I can't say it any better. That's why I actually read that, because I was incapable of kind of squashing it down into a few minutes. But this right here is an excellent book. Don't let anybody say it's not. Don't let anybody persuade you not to read it because it's a slave narrative. It's a slave narrative, yes, but it takes place in Puerto Rico. How many slave narratives have you read that took place in Puerto Rico? Anybody? Anybody? No. Okay. So this has got to be the one. You really need to pick this up, and please get it in the hardcover, because it's just a beautiful, beautiful book. Absolutely gorgeous. Okay. So that was that. So then in July, we read Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. And this is probably the most popular book that we've read all year. Probably was a mistake, in my opinion, because this is not the type of book that we would normally be picking up to read in this book club. This is a book that, for me personally, and for quite a few of the ladies in the book club, has a lot of flaws with it. A lot of repetition, too many circumstantial things happening, and just a little bit too much on the weird preachy side. It almost is giving me Wikipedia in some parts. This is just not really what we would normally pick up. But if you're interested, this is a typical kind of contemporary light book about a mother who dies, and she feels compelled to leave audio tapes of her talking about her life. And she's telling her children things that she's never told them. And we then hear those things, and then later on we explore how the kids react to the news that they get from their mother. It could have been so much better, but there's just, for me, this was a no ma'am. But this was our read for July, which was for Read Caribbean. So, yeah. Oh, sorry, June. So, yeah. We didn't make it. This wasn't one of the best ones. This wasn't one of our better choices. And, so what? It happens sometimes. But that's Black Cake. So if you're interested in reading it. Okay, next we have on our list A Family Affair by Sue Nyati. Yeah, this one was quite the chunker. There's Sue Nyati right there. Sue Nyati is from Zimbabwe, and she currently lives in South Africa, but she writes a lot of her books either take place in Zimbabwe or South Africa. So this book was just... I don't know what to tell you. It was so interesting to read. It's like a contemporary, but it follows these three sisters, and one is called Zoliswa, the other one is Yandisa, and the other one is Zandili. This book had me screaming at times because the men were such trash in this book. but such an interesting read about families. So let me just give you a little overview with the back of the book. It says, family is complicated. Meet the Mafus, a close-knit traditional family with 3 daughters. As leader of their church, the Kingdom of God, Pastor Abraham and his wife, Pumla, are guiding the community of Bulawayo in faith while trying to keep the different branches of their family intact. Independent and feisty Zoliswa returns home after hiatus abroad, hoping for a fresh start and a chance to steer the family business. Rebellious Yandisa has met the love of her life and is finally getting her act together, while dutiful newlywed Zandeli is slowly becoming disillusioned with her happily ever after. The Mafus always present an untied front, but as their personal lives unravel, devastating secrets are revealed that threaten to tear the family apart. For how long will they be able to hide behind the facade of a picture-perfect family? This right here, I tell you, this lady right here, Sunyati, she really knows how to write. And she really knows how to write conflict and that kind of thing. Now, we had the pleasure of having Sunyati come to our book club. We had a wonderful discussion with her. And I highly recommend this one. Don't be worried about, the fact that it's so many pages. It's 456 pages, but it reads very quickly and it's engrossing. So I highly recommend this one. I just love what she's written. And I've read all of her books so far, except 2. One, I think, is a nonfiction, and the other one is her new book, which is just out, which is called An Angel's Demise. So yeah, this one right here, A Family Affair. Okay, the next book that I read, and this was in October, it is called The Joys of Motherhood. And this one, actually, no. The Joys of Motherhood we read in July, I think it was. July. And this one was just fantastic. I was happily gifted this new copy of The Joys of Motherhood because I read, let me just see if I have it here, my old copy of The Joys of Motherhood. Ugh, I don't have that copy here. I think it's on my downstairs shelf, but Penguin gifted me this lovely copy of The Joys of Motherhood, and I'm so happy because it'll fit in with my blue spine editions, and I have the other blue spine edition of the reprinting of Second Class Citizen as well that Penguin so graciously gifted me. So The Joys of Motherhood is a story that talks about the difficulty of being a Nigerian woman and having children and raising them and keeping the family together and working and doing it all. And this story, you follow, okay, the main character is called New Ego. And New Ego is, I mean, there's moments where we're behind her the whole way, but her life is so damn hard. And the men are such trash that you just want to scream. I mean, you don't know what to do. You're just going, la. You just want to scream. Infuriating. But let me tell you, this is one hell of an interesting book. I highly recommend this one. This is a 5-star book. We read this in the book club, and I had heard of Buchi Emecheta before, but there were a lot of ladies in the club that hadn't heard of her before. But after reading this one, they were just like, yeah, give me whatever else. I want to read it. And so I did a Read So Lit read along in October, and we read Second Class Citizen by Buchi Emecheta. And that was fantastic as well. So This one, it says, there is no greater honor for a woman in an Igbo village than to have children, especially sons. Unable to conceive in her first marriage, New Ego is sent away to a new husband in the city of Lagos, where she finally succeeds in becoming a mother. But things are changing, and a war that unfolds thousands of miles away threatens her family's fortunes and her entire way of life. In a world where motherhood is everything, what will be left for her at the end of it all? Y'all got to get this book and get this edition too, because this is a lovely edition. It's a lovely edition. There's Buchi Emecheta. Lovely edition, great book. Highly recommended. 5 stars. Okay, the last book I have is this one by Eddie L. Harris called Mississippi Solo. So this is the one that we read in November. This is a book about a Black man who decides to row down the Mississippi from Minnesota to Louisiana in a canoe by himself. Now, you're probably thinking, the what? What's he doing? Yeah. So this is Eddie L. Harris when he was a young man getting ready to do that journey. And this book is written with such attention and such thought that I feel like I need to shout on the rooftops to anyone who will listen to me to pick this book up. The way this man goes about doing this journey is so spiritual and physical, and it's the kind of journey that heightens all of the 5 senses. I was marveled reading the book, and I just was like, I couldn't believe it. And just such a wonderful story. So the story starts off, and he writes, he says, the Mississippi River is laden with the burdens of a nation. That's the opening line of the book. Then in chapter 2, this is what he says. Once they have reached a certain age, dreamers are no longer held in high esteem. They are ridiculed instead, called loony and lazy, even by their friends, especially by their friends. Dreams are delicate and made of gossamer. They hang lightly on breezes and suspend as if from nothing. The slightest wind can tear them apart. My dream was buffeted by my friends. What the hell for? They ask me. What are you trying to prove? Why don't you just go over Niagara Falls in a barrel? And this was from my friends. God, how that hurt. One friend even told me to take a bus, for God's sake. Instead of helping me fly, my friends were pulling me down and laughing at me. Okay, when I read that, I was just like, whew. It's a very, very interesting read. And I feel like, if you're interested in a different type of travel novel, this could be the one. This could be the one. It's not very long. It's just at like 320 pages. And we had the pleasure of having Eddie L. Harris come to the book club and talk to us about Mississippi Solo. What a fantastic discussion we had. He's a very interesting man. And I highly recommend this book. If you haven't heard of it, this is a great nonfiction. If you're, not so much of a nonfiction reader, I think this one, you might actually really enjoy it. So those were all of the books that we read this year, 2022, in my Read So Lit book club. I hope you enjoyed that. And, we're hoping to read some more good books in 2023. So hopefully we'll get some new members. If not, we'll still enjoy the ones we have, having great discussions about books and enjoying our bookish lives together. So thank you for watching this video and coming on my Vlogmas journey with me. Comment below and tell me if you've read any of these books or if you're interested in reading any of these books. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye with another Vlogmas video. Ciao.